After weeks of anxious travel, Clara finally reaches Samuel's ranch. The journey from the town to the isolated homestead has been long and exhausting, over rough dirt roads and across rolling plains where the wind seems to carry both freedom and uncertainty. As she approaches, the sprawling ranch comes into view, its wooden fences stretching across green pastures dotted with grazing cattle. The house itself is large and sturdy, a testament to Samuel's success and careful management. Yet, despite its grandeur, there is an air of solitude about the place. Clara senses immediately that she has entered a world that is orderly, well-maintained, and yet emotionally lonely. Clara's arrival is cautious but hopeful. She carries her modest trunk, filled with clothing, a few personal items, and the remnants of her past life, a life she desperately wishes to leave behind. She reminds herself repeatedly that this is an opportunity, not a test, and that her worth is not defined by the whispers of townsfolk or the mistakes of her past. Every step toward the ranch's front door is a mixture of trepidation and determination, as she knows that first impressions here may decide her future. Her eyes take in the details of the home, the sturdy wooden porch, the neatly tended flower beds, and the windows that seem to reflect both care and a hint of emptiness. Clara senses that Samuel's world is well-ordered but missing warmth, and she quietly hopes she might provide it. When Samuel opens the door, he is immediately struck by Clara's appearance. She is dressed simply, yet with a quiet elegance that belies her difficult past. Her posture is confident, her expression composed but approachable. Samuel, cautious and reserved, studies her silently, noting the mixture of strength and vulnerability that seems to emanate from her. He is aware of her reputation, having heard the faint whispers and rumors that often accompany mail-order brides with colorful pasts. Yet, there is something about her presence that intrigues him, a sincerity and calm determination that challenges the judgments he has long held. The initial interaction between Clara and Samuel is polite but formal. Clara introduces herself, careful to maintain composure while expressing gratitude for the opportunity. Samuel responds with measured words, observing her demeanor and trying to read beyond the surface. Neither speaks much about her past, yet both are acutely aware of it. Clara senses his skepticism, while Samuel notices her subtle poise and the way she carries herself with dignity. It is a delicate dance of first impressions, where both parties are assessing the potential for trust, compatibility, and mutual understanding. Clara quickly turns her attention to Samuel's nieces, who are initially shy and uncertain around this stranger. She kneels to their level, offering gentle smiles and friendly questions, and gradually begins to break through their initial hesitation. Her warmth and patience are evident, and the girls are drawn to her immediately. Samuel watches from a distance, quietly impressed by the ease with which Clara interacts with the children. He sees that she has a natural ability to nurture and connect, qualities that his household desperately needs. As Clara settles in, she begins to familiarize herself with the routines of the ranch and the demands of the household. She observes the dynamics of the land, the chores that occupy Samuel's day, and the patterns of the children. Clara's mind is sharp and adaptable. She already begins to strategize how she can contribute meaningfully, from cooking meals that the girls will enjoy to organizing spaces to make the home more inviting. Samuel notices her attentiveness, though he does not yet express it, and begins to feel a glimmer of hope that perhaps this woman, with a past he barely understands, could be the solution to the emptiness he has carried for so long. It establishes the pivotal moment of Clara entering Samuel's world. It highlights her courage, resourcefulness, and innate kindness, while simultaneously portraying Samuel's guarded but intrigued perspective. Their initial encounter sets the stage for the slow-building trust, mutual respect, and eventual affection that will grow between them as both begin to recognize that this meeting could change their lives in ways neither anticipated. Clara's first days at the ranch are marked by cautious observation and understated effort. She is aware that her every move is being watched, not only by Samuel but also by the small, inquisitive eyes of his nieces. The house is filled with the quiet hum of daily chores, the rhythmic creak of floorboards, the soft clatter of dishes, and the distant lowing of cattle. Clara adapts quickly, moving through the spaces with grace and efficiency, yet she cannot escape the subtle tension that fills the air. Samuel's demeanor is polite but reserved. He measures her actions carefully, skeptical of whether this woman can truly fit into his world, both as a maternal presence for the girls and as a partner in managing the household. The tension between them is palpable. Clara senses Samuel's unease, not in anger or rudeness, but in the guarded way he engages with her, the careful selection of his words, and the way he watches her closely. He is aware of her past as a saloon girl, a fact that makes him cautious. Samuel has lived by a strict code of judgment and practicality. He knows the town would question any association with a woman of Clara's history. Despite this, he cannot ignore the sincerity in her eyes or the quiet confidence she projects. Clara, on the other hand, is determined not to let his skepticism shake her resolve. She knows her past may have shaped the first impressions people make of her, but she also knows her actions now are what truly define her character. The children, curious and perceptive, quickly become a bridge between Clara and Samuel. They are drawn to her warmth and attentiveness, and their laughter and playful chatter begin to soften the rancher's guarded heart. Clara spends time reading stories to them, helping them with small household tasks, and creating routines that bring structure and comfort. The girls' gradual acceptance of Clara highlights the contrast between her genuine care and the lingering doubts that Samuel still harbors. While Samuel admires her devotion to the children, he also feels an internal struggle. He wants to trust her, but societal judgment and fear of disappointment hold him back. Conflict also arises from the small, everyday misunderstandings that mark the beginning of any new relationship. Clara's methods for organizing the household differ from Samuel's, and her ideas about discipline and care sometimes clash with his practical, no-nonsense approach. These moments, though minor, highlight the tension between their differing worldviews. Clara's empathy-driven perspective versus Samuel's structured, duty-bound mindset. Each disagreement, however, is tempered by mutual respect. Samuel observes that Clara's intentions are pure, even when her methods challenge his routines, while Clara recognizes that Samuel's skepticism stems from a desire to protect both his family and himself. Externally, the town continues to cast its shadow. Rumors about Clara's past begin circulating even within the boundaries of the ranch, whispered by travelers, ranch hands, and nosy neighbors. Samuel hears snippets of these rumors and feels the weight of societal expectations pressing down on him. He is torn between the cautious instinct to conform to public opinion and the growing recognition that Clara's presence brings invaluable stability, care, and warmth to his household. Clara, sensing the subtle judgments around her, becomes more determined to prove her worth not through words, but through actions. By the end of this period, a delicate equilibrium begins to emerge. Samuel's initial wariness gradually softens, influenced by Clara's consistent kindness, competence, and integrity. Clara, meanwhile, has navigated the first phase of integration into the household with patience and tact. The tension between them is no longer just suspicion. It has transformed into a cautious respect and the first hints of trust. Their interactions remain careful and measured, yet beneath the surface, the beginnings of understanding and perhaps a deeper connection are taking root. It establishes the slow but steady building of trust and mutual respect. It emphasizes the contrast between past judgment and present character, highlights the subtle emotional dynamics between Clara and Samuel, and sets the stage for the deeper bond that will develop as they face challenges together. The tension here is essential. It underscores both the stakes of Clara's new life and Samuel's struggle to balance societal expectations with his growing recognition of her value. Clara's story begins as she arrives in a dusty, sun-baked western town, her small trunk in hand and a heart full of cautious hope. She is a woman of quiet strength, carrying not only her few possessions, but also the weight of a past she desperately wants to leave behind. Once a saloon girl in a bustling frontier town, Clara had earned a living by entertaining men singing, serving drinks, and offering companionship. While she had always maintained her dignity in the face of judgment, the reputation of a saloon girl clung to her like a shadow. In the eyes of the townsfolk, she was a woman whose choices were morally suspect, and few could see beyond the stories whispered behind closed doors. Clara's desire to start anew is complicated by the stubborn social stigmas of the era where a woman's past, however painful or misunderstood, often dictates her future. From the very first step onto the boardwalk of this small town, Clara senses the scrutiny of wary eyes. She notices how shopkeepers discreetly glance her way, how mothers pull their children close, and how men lower their voices when she passes. The town's narrow streets, lined with wooden buildings and sagging porches, seem to mirror the rigid moral judgments that govern its inhabitants. Clara feels the tension in every nod, every murmured warning about that saloon girl from out of town. Yet, she is determined to press forward, believing in her ability to prove herself worthy of trust and perhaps, one day, of love. Her hope is fragile but persistent. It is the only thing she carries that the town cannot take away. Clara's journey to this town was not spontaneous. She had been carefully considering a new life, researching potential matches through the mail-order bride advertisements that promised security and a second chance. The letters she had exchanged with potential suitors were cautious, polite, and always careful to avoid revealing too much about her past, knowing that any mention of her former occupation could lead to immediate rejection. Despite her careful planning, Clara is aware that the stigma she carries may follow her wherever she goes. Every step of her journey, from the rattling train to the bumpy stagecoach, has been a test of her resolve, and the closer she comes to this new town, the heavier her anxiety feels. She wonders if anyone will look past her past and see the person she has become, kind, responsible, and yearning to create a home rather than simply survive. Inside Clara is a mixture of fear and determination. Fear of judgment, of humiliation, of being rejected again. Determination to rewrite her story, to find stability and purpose beyond the saloon life. She clings to the idea that this town, quiet, out of the way, and perhaps more open to new beginnings than her old haunts, could be the place where she finally finds acceptance. But she knows it will not be easy. Reputation is a powerful force, particularly in a town where everyone knows everyone else's business, and rumors spread faster than prairie fire. Clara's struggle is not only against the external judgments of society, but also against her internal doubts. Will she ever be able to escape the shadow of her past, or will it define her forever? This opening chapter sets the stage for Clara's journey, establishing her resilience and the obstacles she faces. It introduces the central conflict of the story, a woman determined to start over, burdened by a past that refuses to stay hidden. Through Clara's perspective, readers feel the tension of life in a morally rigid frontier town, the isolation of being judged for one's history, and the fragile hope of redemption that drives her forward. This foundation is essential, as it shapes the reader as understanding of her character and sets up the transformative journey that lies ahead when she meets the man who will challenge both her fears and the town's prejudices. Meanwhile, across the vast expanse of the prairie, the wealthy rancher Samuel resides on his sprawling ranch, surrounded by rolling fields, grazing cattle, and the quiet hum of a life governed by routine and labor. Samuel is a man of substantial means, his ranch providing him with financial security that few in the region can match. Yet, despite his wealth, he is profoundly lonely. Years ago, he lost his wife under tragic circumstances, leaving him with a large estate and two young nieces who depend on him entirely. The weight of responsibility has hardened him, and he has long resigned himself to a solitary existence, believing that no woman could truly understand the demanding life of a rancher. His days are filled with chores, oversight of the ranch hands, and the constant hum of management, leaving little room for companionship or love. Samuel's relationship with his nieces, however, keeps him tethered to hope in a different form. The girls are sweet, lively, and full of curiosity, yet the absence of a motherly figure is painfully evident. Their laughter sometimes brings a smile to Samuel's stoic face, but their occasional sadness reminds him daily that love is not just a luxury, it is a necessity for their well-being. Despite his deep affection for the children, he struggles to fill the void left by their mother's absence. The girls are bright and trusting, yet they require nurturing, guidance, and warmth that Samuel, in his rugged, practical way, cannot fully provide. He has tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy for them, but he knows they are missing the maternal touch that only a woman like Clara could offer. The loneliness Samuel experiences is both emotional and social. The town sees him as a wealthy, successful man, and yet the same people who envy his prosperity assume that no one could ever match his lifestyle. Neighbors gossip about his private affairs and speculate endlessly about when or if he will remarry. Samuel, however, has long since ceased caring for public opinion. He has grown wary of social interactions that might expose him to judgment, disapproval, or shallow attempts at friendship. His confidence in financial matters is unmatched, but his vulnerability in personal matters has been locked away by years of grief and self-reliance. Despite his isolation, Samuel possesses a deep sense of decency and fairness. He treats his employees with respect, runs his ranch efficiently, and does not exploit his wealth to dominate others. Beneath the rough exterior lies a man capable of profound love, though the pain of past loss has built walls around his heart. Samuel's world is one of routine and labor, and the very thought of inviting someone into that world, especially a woman who might challenge his independence, fills him with hesitation. He dreams in quiet moments of a companion, someone who could care for his nieces, run the household with skill, and bring warmth to the ranch, yet he doubts such a person exists. The contrast between Samuel's wealth and Clara's vulnerability sets the stage for the central tension of the story. Where Clara carries hope burdened by past shame, Samuel bears loneliness guarded by years of grief and practical responsibility. Both are searching, in different ways, for connection and a sense of belonging. Samuel's life, full of material security but lacking emotional fulfillment, is perfectly positioned for Clara's arrival. He has the means to offer her safety and a home, just as she has the skills and heart to bring love, warmth, and structure to his household. Part 2 establishes Samuel's character, his motivations, and his emotional landscape. By understanding his solitude, the reader begins to see the potential for an unlikely union, where two people, seemingly from different worlds, might meet and find redemption and companionship in one another. It also sets up the stakes. Samuel needs a maternal figure for his nieces and someone to share his life, while Clara needs acceptance and a chance to leave her past behind. Their eventual meeting promises to challenge both their expectations and transform their lives in ways neither anticipates, and starts to prove herself in tangible ways. She understands that earning Samuel's trust and acceptance will not come from words alone, but through consistent actions that demonstrate her competence, integrity, and devotion. From the moment she rises at dawn to tend to the day's chores, Clara approaches each task with diligence and care. She learns the rhythm of ranch life, from preparing hearty breakfasts that give the workers and the children energy for the day to managing the household with a mix of practicality and warmth. Her attention to detail is remarkable. Laundry is cleaned and folded, rooms are tidied, and even the simplest tasks are performed with a precision that surprises Samuel, who has grown accustomed to running the ranch with his own exacting standards. Clara also invests herself in the well-being of the nieces, who are slowly learning to trust her completely. She teaches them reading and writing, introduces them to songs and games that stimulate their imaginations, and listens carefully to their stories and fears. She becomes more than just a caretaker. She is a source of emotional stability in a household that has long been dominated by responsibility and labor. Her ability to balance firmness with tenderness demonstrates a maturity that both impresses Samuel and earns the admiration of the children. They begin to seek her guidance in ways they had not with their absent mother or the house staff, indicating the early formation of a maternal bond. At the same time, Clara begins to integrate into the ranch's broader operations. She shows an aptitude for organization and resource management, identifying ways to streamline chores, ration supplies efficiently, and improve the overall workflow. Her practical intelligence and proactive approach gradually earn the respect of the ranch hands, who initially watched her arrival with skepticism. Clara does not assert authority in a domineering way. Instead, she demonstrates competence quietly and consistently, allowing her actions to speak for themselves. Samuel observes all of this with growing admiration, realizing that Clara's skills and dedication are essential to the smooth functioning of his household and the happiness of his nieces. Despite her progress, Clara faces continued challenges in proving herself to Samuel and to the community. The shadow of her past occasionally resurfaces, small comments from visiting neighbors, or remarks from ranch hands who have heard whispers in town remind her that the past she wants to leave behind is never far away. These moments test her resilience, yet she responds with grace and dignity. She does not argue or make excuses. She simply continues to work hard and show her value through action rather than explanation. In doing so, she gradually challenges the assumptions Samuel has about her, and even the quiet judgments of the community begin to soften. An important turning point in this phase is a small crisis that reveals Clara's courage and reliability. Perhaps a minor accident occurs on the ranch, such as a fall while tending to chores, a sudden illness of one of the children, or a logistical problem with supplies. Clara responds quickly, calmly, and effectively, taking responsibility and ensuring the safety and comfort of everyone involved. Samuel witnesses firsthand her composure under pressure and her resourcefulness in handling the unexpected. This event becomes a concrete demonstration of her worth, showing that she is not only competent in daily routine but also dependable when true challenges arise. By the end of this stage, Clara has proven herself in multiple dimensions: practical, emotional, and moral. Samuel begins to see her not as the saloon girl from town he had heard rumors about, but as a strong, capable, and compassionate woman who belongs in his home and in his life. Her steady presence and unwavering dedication to the children and the household gradually dissolve the walls of doubt and skepticism. Clara's success is not just in the completion of tasks, but in the way she brings stability, warmth, and love to the ranch, quietly transforming it into a home rather than merely a place of work. This is crucial because it establishes Clara as a capable, reliable, and morally grounded character. Through her actions, she begins to break down prejudices, earn trust, and create the foundation for the emotional bonds that will continue to grow between her, Samuel, and the children. Her journey of proving herself underscores her resilience and sets the stage for the deeper emotional developments that will follow. Just as Clara begins to settle into life at the ranch and earn Samuel's tentative trust, the shadow of the outside world begins to creep in. The town, small and tightly knit, thrives on rumor and speculation, and Clara's past as a saloon girl makes her an easy target. Whispered conversations in general stores, hushed exchanges on the street corners, and the sly glances of neighbors all serve to remind her that the judgment she thought she had left behind has followed her here. No matter how hard Clara works, how devoted she is to Samuel's nieces, or how quietly competent she proves herself, The murmurs of the town threaten to undermine her hard-won place in the ranch household. The gossip starts subtly, with offhand remarks from travelers or ranch hands who have heard something interesting about the new woman on Samuel's property. It gradually escalates as some townsfolk, eager to assert moral authority, begin sharing exaggerated stories of Clara's past. These stories, though inaccurate or embellished, feed on the collective imagination of a community that prefers scandal to compassion. For Clara, each whisper and pointed look becomes a reminder that she is under constant scrutiny. She feels the weight of judgment, not just for herself, but for the potential disruption it could cause in her fragile new life with Samuel and his nieces. Samuel, meanwhile, begins to hear fragments of these rumors. At first, he tries to dismiss them, believing in Clara's character and her proven dedication to his household. But human nature and a desire to protect his family from potential scandal forces him to confront the whispers in his mind. Doubts creep in. He questions whether the townsfolk's judgment could affect his reputation or the social acceptance of his nieces. Samuel, who is typically decisive and confident in matters of business, finds himself grappling with uncertainty in matters of the heart. He is torn between trusting Clara completely and succumbing to the fear that her past, however irrelevant to her present, could invite trouble or embarrassment. Clara senses Samuel's inner conflict. Though he does not openly criticize her, his subtle hesitation and careful observation communicate an unspoken tension. She begins to worry that no matter how hard she tries, her past may always be an obstacle to acceptance, not just in the town, but in Samuel's eyes. Yet she refuses to let fear dictate her actions. Clara resolves to continue demonstrating her worth through diligence, kindness, and unwavering attention to the nieces. She understands that her value lies not in the perceptions of the town, but in the tangible impact she has on the people who matter most in her immediate life. The conflict reaches a pivotal moment when a visiting townsperson makes a pointed remark in Samuel's presence, hinting at Clara's history in a way meant to provoke judgment or discomfort. Samuel, caught off guard, experiences a mixture of anger, doubt, and protectiveness. For the first time, he directly questions Clara not about her skills or her care for the children, but about her past, seeking reassurance that she will not bring trouble to his home. Clara meets him with honesty, admitting the truth of her former life while emphasizing the lessons she has learned and the woman she has become. Her vulnerability and candor challenge Samuel's assumptions and force him to see beyond the simplistic judgments of the town. This stage of the story underscores the persistent obstacles Clara faces, not just externally from societal judgment, but internally as she navigates her own insecurities and Samuel's skepticism. It also tests Samuel's capacity for trust, compassion, and independent thinking. The tension between rumor and reality, judgment and character, drives both characters to confront their fears. Clara about whether she will ever be fully accepted, and Samuel about whether he can prioritize truth and personal values over social expectations. It is crucial because it heightens the stakes of the story. Clara's past is no longer a private burden. It threatens to disrupt the delicate balance of trust she has begun to establish. At the same time, Samuel's character deepens, revealing his struggle between societal pressures and personal conviction. This conflict lays the groundwork for the turning point in the next section, where trust, courage, and integrity will be tested, ultimately drawing the characters closer together. After the tension of town gossip and subtle doubts, Samuel begins to confront his own heart and prejudices in a way he never expected. Clara's unwavering dedication to the household and her evident care for the nieces have challenged his initial skepticism, but the lingering judgments of the townspeople continue to haunt him. Samuel has lived much of his life in isolation, relying on pragmatism, routine, and control to navigate the responsibilities of his ranch. Emotional vulnerability is foreign territory for him. Yet, observing Clara day by day, her gentle guidance with the children, Her tireless attention to the ranch chores, and the calm courage she displays in moments of crisis forces him to question his assumptions about morality, reputation, and worth. The revelation begins subtly through moments of quiet observation. Samuel notices the patience Clara shows when the children quarrel or when a chore goes awry. He sees the way she anticipates needs, solves problems without being asked, and brings comfort in ways he cannot. These are not just domestic accomplishments. They are reflections of character, resilience, and moral integrity. Samuel realizes that Clara's past as a saloon girl does not define her. It is her present actions, choices, and heart that truly matter. This insight is both liberating and frightening for him. Liberating because he recognizes the possibility of genuine connection. Frightening because it forces him to confront the societal judgments he has unconsciously internalized. The turning point comes during a moment of direct challenge. Perhaps a townsperson arrives at the ranch, making a pointed comment or attempting to shame Samuel for welcoming Clara into his home. Instead of reacting with embarrassment or avoidance, Samuel watches how Clara handles the situation with grace, honesty, and composure. She neither denies her past nor apologizes for it. Instead, she demonstrates that she has learned from her experiences and grown into a person of strength and compassion. Witnessing this, Samuel experiences a profound internal shift. He begins to see Clara as a partner, someone whose presence strengthens not only his household, but also the emotional well-being of his nieces and ultimately himself. Samuel's revelation is not instantaneous. It develops gradually through shared experiences, quiet conversations with Clara, observing her interactions with the children, and noticing how she contributes to the smooth running of the ranch. He recognizes the courage it has taken for her to leave her old life behind and start anew in a place where judgment is quick and acceptance is scarce. This realization allows Samuel to reflect on his own fears and biases. He admits to himself that he has been clinging to notions of propriety and reputation that no longer serve him, and he acknowledges that he has underestimated Clara's strength and integrity. Emotionally, this moment is transformative for Samuel. He begins to feel genuine admiration for Clara, not simply as a caretaker for his nieces, but as a woman of intelligence, resilience, and kindness. He feels the stirrings of trust and even affection, emotions he has long suppressed in the aftermath of loss and years of solitude. Samuel understands that his future, the happiness of his household, the stability of his niece's upbringing, and his own chance at companionship is intertwined with Clara's presence. She is no longer merely a temporary helper or an outsider. She has become central to the life he is beginning to envision. By the end of this stage, Samuel's revelation crystallizes. Clara's past is irrelevant when weighed against the value of her character, her loyalty, and the love she is capable of giving. He resolves to protect her from town gossip and to trust her implicitly, recognizing that the judgments of others cannot dictate the choices that will define his happiness. This moment sets the stage for the deepening of their relationship, as both characters begin to move beyond suspicion, social expectations, and fear toward mutual respect, trust, and ultimately, love. It is pivotal because it marks the emotional turning point for Samuel. His internal shift from skepticism and social anxiety to admiration and trust not only strengthens his character arc, but also allows the narrative to progress toward the development of romance and emotional intimacy, laying the foundation for the story's eventual resolution. The turning point of Clara and Samuel's story comes when an unexpected crisis forces them to confront their feelings, work together, and test the bonds that have been slowly forming between them. Life on the ranch is rarely predictable. The vast, untamed land brings both opportunities and dangers. Perhaps a sudden storm hits the prairie, threatening the cattle and the homestead, or an accident occurs like a child falling or a piece of essential ranch equipment breaking at a critical moment. Whatever the specific event, it acts as a catalyst, moving the story from tentative trust and cautious admiration to intense emotional connection and shared reliance. Clara immediately rises to the occasion. Years of surviving harsh circumstances in the saloons and traveling the frontier have honed her resourcefulness, resilience, and courage. She assesses the situation quickly, organizes a plan, and takes decisive action. Whether it involves rounding up stray cattle, calming frightened horses, or tending to a frightened child, her leadership emerges naturally. She does not act with brash confidence, but with steady determination, demonstrating intelligence, empathy, and courage under pressure. Samuel, witnessing this, is simultaneously impressed and humbled. He recognizes that Clara is not only capable but also trustworthy, a partner in every sense of the word. For Samuel, this crisis is transformative on both a practical and emotional level. He has always relied on himself, trusting few and guarding his emotions fiercely. But as the situation unfolds, he realizes the value of collaboration and the depth of Clara's commitment. Her calm demeanor and quick thinking complement his own experience and judgment, creating a synergy that neither of them has experienced before. Samuel begins to see Clara not merely as a competent housekeeper or caregiver, but as an equal partner in the management of his life and his ranch. The emotional barrier that has kept him isolated begins to crumble. The nieces also play a critical role in this turning point. Clara's protective instincts toward them shine during the crisis, and their trust and admiration for her deepen. Samuel observes the children's reliance on Clara and the genuine affection they feel, and he feels a surge of gratitude and relief. He realizes that the stability and love Clara brings are invaluable, not just in moments of routine, but in moments of danger and uncertainty. The crisis solidifies Clara's position within the family unit, demonstrating that she is not just a temporary presence, but an essential part of their lives. As the immediate danger passes, there is a quiet, reflective moment between Clara and Samuel. Exhausted but relieved, they share a glance, a word, or a touch that speaks volumes about the new understanding between them. In this moment, the layers of caution, skepticism, and fear melt away. Samuel is no longer thinking about societal judgment or her past. He is fully aware of Clara's courage, loyalty, and strength. Clara, in turn, sees Samuel's growing admiration and trust, recognizing that he is beginning to view her not only as a capable woman, but as someone with whom he can build a future. This turning point marks the emotional shift from tentative trust to mutual recognition of value, capability, and character. It demonstrates that true understanding and connection are forged in moments of shared struggle, rather than in everyday routines or polite conversation. Samuel's protective instincts, combined with Clara's courage and decisiveness, create a foundation of respect, admiration, and emerging affection. The crisis serves as proof that their partnership is not theoretical, it works in real, high-stakes situations, cementing the bond that will grow into love. It is crucial because it elevates the narrative tension while simultaneously deepening character development. The turning point transforms Clara from a competent caregiver into a heroic, indispensable figure in Samuel's life, while also dismantling the final walls of his emotional isolation. This stage sets the stage for the resolution of their romantic arc, the acceptance of Clara by Samuel's household, and the ultimate triumph over societal judgment. Following the turning point, Samuel and Clara's relationship moves into a deeper, more emotional phase 1, where admiration and respect evolve into trust, affection, and ultimately love. The crisis on the ranch has demonstrated to Samuel Clara's courage, intelligence, and steadfast character, dissolving any lingering doubts he may have had. For Clara, the same event has revealed Samuel's capacity for vulnerability, kindness, and integrity beneath his stoic exterior. Now, with barriers removed, they are free to recognize the feelings that have been quietly developing between them. Samuel begins to see Clara not as a woman defined by her past, but as the heart of his household, the person who brings warmth, stability, and joy to his nieces' lives. He observes the small, everyday things, how she hums while working in the kitchen, the gentle way she corrects the girls' mistakes, the patience she shows in handling both children and ranch hands that reveal the depth of her character. He is struck by the way she blends strength with compassion, decisiveness with tenderness, and resilience with humility. Samuel realizes that the qualities he admires in her are precisely what he has long sought in a partner but never found. For Clara, acceptance comes in the form of recognition and affirmation. She sees Samuel standing by her, defending her against the whispers and judgments of the town, and treating her as an equal rather than a subordinate. His support validates her efforts, confirming that her past does not dictate her worth. She also notices the love and trust Samuel places in her, not only in his words but in his actions, whether giving her responsibility over the household, consulting her opinions on ranch matters, or simply allowing her to care for the children without interference. Clara feels, for the first time in her life, that she belongs not as an outsider, but as an integral part of a family and a home. Their love blossoms gradually, built on mutual respect and shared experiences rather than impulsive attraction. Simple moments, the quiet of the porch at sunset, shared laughter over the children's antics, working side by side in the kitchen or fields become powerful expressions of intimacy. Samuel begins to allow himself to speak more openly, sharing memories of his late wife and the loneliness he has endured, while Clara responds with empathy and understanding rather than judgment. This emotional exchange cements their connection and demonstrates that love is rooted not only in passion, but also in trust, respect, and emotional vulnerability. The acceptance extends beyond the couple to the household itself. Samuel's nieces, who initially were wary of a stranger, now openly show affection for Clara, demonstrating that they have embraced her as a mother figure. Their laughter and reliance on her care underscore the authenticity of her role in their lives. Samuel feels a sense of completeness he has not experienced since before his wife's death. The combination of love for Clara and the children as adoration brings a profound sense of family fulfillment. Society's judgment begins to lose its power as Samuel publicly stands by Clara. Whether through simple gestures, quiet defiance of town gossip, or more explicit statements of trust and admiration, he signals that her past is irrelevant to the life they are building together. Clara, in turn, gains confidence in her new identity and place in the community, finally free from the fear that her history will define her forever. It is the emotional climax of the story, where love, trust, and acceptance converge. Samuel's choice to value character over reputation and Clara's perseverance in proving her worth culminate in the affirmation of a genuine, lasting relationship. This stage resolves the central conflict of past stigma versus present character, and it sets the stage for the story's final resolution: a family united, a woman redeemed, and a man who has reclaimed hope, companionship, and love. With the trials, revelations, and growing affection behind them, Clara and Samuel enter a new chapter of life, a chapter defined by hope, love, and the promise of shared futures. By this stage, the walls of doubt, fear, and judgment that once separated them have fallen, replaced with mutual respect and a deep emotional bond. The once cautious and reserved rancher now embraces both Clara and the transformative impact she has had on his household, while Clara finds herself fully accepted and appreciated, not as a woman with a troubled past, but as an essential, beloved part of a family. The transformation is evident in the daily rhythms of the ranch. What was once a household governed strictly by necessity and routine now hums with warmth and joy. Clara, confident in her role, manages the household with efficiency and creativity, ensuring that the children are nurtured, educated, and happy. Samuel, freed from the isolation that has long defined him, begins to share his responsibilities not as a burden, but as a way to collaborate with Clara acknowledging her expertise and insights. Together, they operate as a true partnership, balancing the demands of the ranch with the emotional needs of the household. The nieces, who have become the emotional bridge between Clara and Samuel, now thrive under Clara's guidance. Their laughter fills the rooms, their playful energy brings life to the once quiet ranch, and their sense of security under Clara's care underscores the permanence of her role. She is no longer a temporary figure or a newcomer. She is their mother, mentor, and friend. Samuel's heart swells as he observes this dynamic, understanding that the happiness of the children and the stability of the home are inseparable from Clara's presence. In their smiles and laughter, he sees the tangible proof of the second chance he has given and received through her. Beyond the walls of the ranch, the townspeople gradually recognize Clara's worth. Her consistent display of integrity, kindness, and competence begins to soften previous judgments. Even those who once whispered behind her back come to respect her contributions to the household and community. Samuel's unwavering support of Clara further reinforces her acceptance. By standing firmly beside her, he demonstrates that the past cannot dictate the present or the future, and that reputation is less important than character, courage, and devotion. On a personal level, Clara and Samuel's relationship evolves into one of love built on deep trust and mutual understanding. They share quiet evenings on the porch, talking about hopes, dreams, and the future they are beginning to imagine together. They celebrate small victories, comfort each other during moments of fatigue or frustration, and find joy in everyday life. Their partnership is no longer tentative or cautious. It is confident, resilient, and rooted in genuine affection. The love between them is both passionate and tender, strengthened by the challenges they have overcome and the trust they have earned. The story culminates with a sense of renewal and possibility. Clara's journey from a stigmatized saloon girl to a respected, beloved mother figure and partner reflects the transformative power of perseverance, integrity, and self-belief. Samuel, who once lived in solitude and guarded his heart, discovers that opening himself to trust and companionship brings a profound sense of fulfillment and happiness. Together, they have not only overcome societal judgment, but have also created a home where love, stability, and hope flourish. It closes the narrative with a sense of completeness and optimism. The characters' arcs reach their full potential. Clara's redemption and self-acceptance, Samuel's emotional awakening and willingness to love again, and the creation of a family founded on trust, compassion, and shared purpose. The ranch, once a symbol of isolation, now stands as a testament to new beginnings, a place where past mistakes no longer define the present and where love and perseverance pave the way for a hopeful, enduring future.